Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. This is our Larry Feldman interview, take two. Welcome to CarBiz Leaders Live, featuring the principal's office, where I like to say it's the only principal's office where you actually like to come to. This is where we interview dealer principals, business owners, car gurus, big names in the business, people who run stuff. And we do this because it's hard. Okay. It's hard to run a business and we all could use a little bit of help out there. So this is us helping each other. And today we are going to have an epic show. I can already tell because the internet is already 1,000 times better. And if this is a testament to if at first you don't succeed, try again. I'll tell you, I already feel like it's going to be a great show today. So please welcome CarBiz Leaders Live. We're going to get this party started and then we'll welcome Larry back onto the show. Yay, we're doing it. So without further ado, my very, very special friend, Larry Feldman. Larry, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. For those folks out there that don't really know who you are, can you please, tell a little bit about who you are and why you're the guru of gurus?
Sure. I own a training and recruiting company. I'm a former dealership owner and salesperson, and I think I have a pretty good feel for what people want in terms of personnel and what it takes to motivate them. And I'm just running around the country, making friends, getting people hired, making people better, and having a lot of fun, with the emphasis on having a lot of fun.
I think that's why I like you. And also you're hilarious. I read your book, Inner Moron Demons, and I just wanted to say that
inner moron demons, how to avoid them and how to live your best life. I don't want to sound like I'm being critical, just lighting the path.
Well, I'm just going to let you know that I have them. and it was really insightful and it really helped me. Because there's a lot of times when you avoid things and you don't even know why you're doing it. And just some real good car gems in there that I thought were really wonderful. But my favorite part was actually the foreword by Robert Hollinshead. He said that if it wasn't for you and your family, that he wouldn't be in this business. And when I heard that, I was floored because, he's been a huge influence on my life. I don't know if I told you this, but I used to work for one of the largest wholesalers in the country. And before that, my niche was wholesalers. So I was very aware of Bob, and Bob has been very supportive to me in my career. So hi, Bob, if you're listening, thank you so much for what you've done for our industry.
Absolutely.
But how did you come to, besides, because you told me a little bit about it, but do you want to kind of expand on your relationship there?
With Bob?
Yeah.
Family's known him forever. And he called me up and he said, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm hearing you're here, you're there. I want to see what you got. Come out. So he brought me out to that huge palace he has. And I figured, look, we get along great, but he's busy. Who the heck's busier than him? I figured he'd give me 10 minutes. And instead, it was like I was holding a classroom training. He made me go through 4.5 hours, gave me a big hug. I think he used some dirty words because that's Bob Hollinshead, and said, man, it's the best training I've ever seen in my life. I told him, what else are you doing? I said, I'm finishing up a book. He says, I'm doing your damn forward. I said, it's fine. So that's
Yeah.
basically it. He's listen, he's just a down to earth, authentic guy. Besides being brilliant, that just speaks his mind, and everybody likes him and respects him because he's dug in. And listen, it hasn't, like with everybody else, it hasn't been all smooth sailing for him. He had to fight through adversity. And
Hmm.
I think everybody that fights through adversity comes out a little bit better if they have what they need inside. It's the biggest argument against it, giving every kid a participation trophy,
Right.
because it teaches the great ones why bother being great. And if you're horrible, it's like, why improve? Here's your trophy anyway. So
Right.
we all going to get beat up a little bit. It's you learn more from the negative stuff than the positive stuff if you're paying attention.
Yeah. Some people call it grit. I call it chutzpah.
The best thing that happened to me with Bob is he called me up. This is about a year or two later.
Yeah.
Said, I got a hot lead for you, and can you dial him in on your phone? Now I could hear he was sitting, and I was driving, and I was on the highway in traffic. I said, can you do it? And he said, I don't know how to do it. I said, you're Bob Hollinshead. You've rewired the entire car business. You don't know how to use your damn iPhone? That's all you need to know about Bob.
Shh, we won't say anything. Sorry, Bob. We love you. Yeah, I think he is hilarious because he calls it wholesale. I always get a kick out of him every time he makes a post. Anyway, but not to take away from you, because you are really special. You have this podcast. Everybody comes on. I was on your podcast. We had an opportunity to really dig in, answer some really stuff about, just what's happening in the industry, how to get better. And I think this is really important for dealerships all over just to tune in, right? To like,
It's lethal. It's called Lethal Sales.
mhm,
It's every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
mhm,
The show you were on, we made the exception because we were at a SodaCon in
right.
Baltimore. And I thought, hey, if I'm going to be here, let's do it at 12 noon. And we were lucky enough that show to get Paul J. Daly of Soda himself,
Yeah.
Ben Hadley, Matt Lasher, Wendy Reeves. You were on. We had everybody on. Duran Cage, John Ellis, Jordan Cox was on. It's like a cast of thousands. We really had a lot of fun. But anybody that wants to tune in, you will not be bored. I don't let people pontificate. I'm
Right.
really not interested in hearing 5-minute speeches. I just want everybody to throw out their ideas, their feelings, have a lot of fun. And hey, maybe I'll learn, maybe you'll learn, maybe we'll all learn together.
I think that's what it's all about. See, this is why I started this podcast too. And I think it's really important is like, I'm a firm believer in like becoming a lifelong learner. Like I'm not done. How do you sharpen your saw? And it's the people that think they know everything that I'm really scared of. I know a lot of stuff, but I don't know everything. And even if I do know it, I also want to hear somebody else's opinion about it, because then it just expands my mind and maybe allows me to solve problems in a different, more creative way than I have been in the past.
I
Would
feel
you
I
agree?
feel sorry for people that think they know everything, because it's so much fun to learn and discover. I mean, if you read a
Mhm.
book by an author and you go, boy, he's great or she's great, well, they weren't living in a cave. They were influenced by a writer, and that writer
Mhm.
was influenced by a writer. Um, I'm a musician, as we discussed,
Yeah.
and I'm a rock and roll musician. And when I grew up, it was the perfect era for rock and roll, because you still had remnants of Chuck Berry sifting through the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and
Mhm.
Bob Dylan. And I used to buy the Rolling Stones records. That's how old I am.
Mhm.
And where the Beatles just came out of the gate as great songwriters, the Stones were basically a blues cover band. And
Right.
I'd look on these records and I'd say, man, who the heck's McKinley Morganfield? Well, that's Muddy Waters.
Right.
Who's Chester Burnett? It's Howlin' Wolf. So all of a sudden now I'm listening to blues guys that came up through Mississippi and Chicago in the 50s. The point is, the more you want to learn, the more you're going to learn, and the more fun you're going to have.
Yeah. I do have, I'm constantly trying to sharpen the saw, and I am having more fun. I'm having more fun than I ever have, but there is some days, we were talking about this before we got on the podcast, yesterday was a tough day for me. It just seemed like nothing else was working. One of the
Excuse
big,
me. Yesterday, your internet stuff didn't work. A tough day is when your arms fall off. All you had was a slight misstep. Okay. Uh,
well, no, I
as
had
my
other
father would
things
say,
happen too.
everybody in the graveyard would get up and take every one of your problems. So,
I know, I know. I am grateful. I am grateful. But one of the things that we were discussing before is, cash flow, right? And I think a lot of people struggle with cash flow. We were talking about how we've seen it put people out of business. A lot of dealers are struggling. I call it spinning plates constantly. Um, but what are some of the ways that people can protect their cash flow?
well, if you want to make it simple, if you want to get rich and stay rich, act like you're broke. And if you want to go broke, act like you're rich. It's really
Mhm.
simple. If you're not paying attention to what's coming in and what's going out and how timely it is, I mean, no dealer wants contracts in transit. People want to make sure that they know where their money is and that they can access it and that it's moving quickly. But it's also a matter, when you look at a statement as a dealer, you're seeing what came in, what went out, but you're not seeing what you're missing. So until we start looking a little deeper into opportunities that we could have had or things we could have done a little bit better, all these things add up and all these things detract. So I really think it's a matter of paying attention. We're coming through a very strange time. For the
Yeah,
last few years, by accident, dealers were making a ton of profit
right.
because supply and demand was completely in the favor of the dealers. Here's the car. If you want it, it's this much over. If you don't want it, those three people will take it. And what should have happened was dealers should have been, and I'm not saying they all weren't, but
Mhm.
dealers should have said, wow, we're making a fortune. Our salespeople are making a fortune. What a perfect time to act like nobody's making any money and train a little differently and dig in a little differently. But you know what happened? A lot of guys, hey, this is great. This will never end. And now having some retention problems and some problems dealing with how long is this next strike going to last? There's always also a neglect um, of fixed stops. It always seems to slide more towards variable than fixed.
Yeah,
Dealers will spend a fortune on the front end and maybe neglect the advertising in the back, and that's
right,
scary because we lose so much business out of service when it should be a magnet for business. It's the oldest cliche around. Sales sells the first car, service sells the next one.
right.
But the amount of money we lose by not dialing with our sales service departments. I mean, I ask dealers all the time if they're telling me they're having a problem, or even if they're not, if they want to fine tune, are you having sales service meetings? Well, not really. What are you doing? You have two
Right.
groups of people that are inextricably tied together, and instead you're letting them pull apart or maybe even be antagonistic. So just the same old thing as everything. Pay attention, figure out what's going in, what's going out. Do not be afraid to question the people you're working with and for and who are working for you. Don't
Mhm.
be afraid to question yourself. It's a lot of managers like to say to salespeople, "Is what you're doing now the most productive thing you could be doing?" And if you owned this dealership, would you be happy with what you did today as far as being
Right.
productive?
That's a great accountability question, by the way. I love that. Would you be happy? Now, I feel like service is one of those um kind of like they get to sweep it under the rug. But some people are starting to pay attention. I feel like the really smart dealers are starting to begin to pay attention to turning the service department into a sales organization. I've always
I,
felt
I have to correct your tense because the smart dealers have always paid attention.
okay.
Um, it's sad that some people don't. Some people will never get it, but how important that is to make this a big circle.
Mhm,
That's why if you're running a dealership or you're a
mhm,
sales manager and part of your presentation isn't having them walk their customers through service, or if service is closed at 8 o'clock at night, say that they don't set up an automatic system to have the people check in the next day and say, "Hey, I heard you were looking, or I heard you purchased. I'm Joe. I'm Jane. I'm your service advisor." It's integral, and when we neglect these basic steps, we cost ourselves customers, we cost ourselves gross, we definitely cost ourselves CSI, and who's not worried about CSI these days?
right. Well, and not only that too, but I feel like when a service person would contact a customer, they're like, "Oh, it's a service agency." They could let their guard down a little bit more, right? And maybe they're more forthcoming to explain to the person what it is that they really want because they feel like, oh, maybe I'm not being sold, right? Or this isn't some sales guy trying to push on me, right? It comes from a more consultative type of sale.
Well,
Would you agree?
the only reason I understand where you're coming from, but GMs and owners that are smart realize that your service people are doing sales. And but the only difference is where salespeople, if they're not paying attention and they're not prospecting properly, can bite their nails all day hoping a customer walks in. Your service department can have 10, 20, if it's a big enough store, 70 people lined up every morning. People that already know you, that already trust you, that are already coming to you literally for service.
Right.
So again, it's just the concept that can I throw something at you?
Absolutely.
I was doing training at a dealership in Virginia.
Yeah.
I love telling this story because again, you just peel it back a little bit. And they were really happy to see me. I had, as in my recruiting capacity, I had gotten half the people that worked there hired.
Mm-hmm.
And the managers and I got along great. So it was a very welcoming, receptive audience. Rachel, I'm all about having fun. I think you learn more if people are smiling and feeling it. And I adapt to whoever's in my class. So everybody's feeling great. And I have one person that does not want to be there. Horrible body language, constantly glued to his iPhone. And he stands up and he said, if you're so effing smart, what do you say to the guy that says, why should I buy from you instead of the other Chrysler dealer? And he pointed to the managers. He says, because they can't give me a good answer. And look, we all know the drill. What do they say? Well, I'm really a nice guy. So is the other guy. Well, I'll give you 3 free oil changes. I'll give you 5. And what's the next thing a lot of salespeople do? They start dropping the price. Now, I didn't plan this. I didn't know what the guy was going to say. But I try to teach people to think, not to memorize phrases, but to listen and think. So I thought, okay, why don't you tell them you're greedy? Now the class starts to laugh because they figure I'm having a nervous breakdown. I said, wait a minute, don't be laughing at me. Let's play it out. You be the customer. I'll be the salesperson. Ask me, all right, why should I buy from you, instead of the other dealer? Said, because I'm greedy. And he said, that's bull. Although he conjugated the verb. You can draw it out yourself. And I said, does it? I said, let me ask you a question. I bet you're just like me. You bought something from somebody. It didn't have to be a car. Could have been a chair, a big screen TV, a nice watch. And they were your best friend to get your money. And then when you had a problem, you couldn't find them. I hate that, don't you? And he goes, I do hate that. I said, well, they weren't greedy. All they wanted to do is sell you one chair, one car, one TV. I want to sell everybody you ever met in your life a vehicle. I'm going to be your personal concierge. You always want to deal with people that are greedy in the sense that they'll keep you happy to get more of your money. Mm-hmm. So again, it's what your perspective is. If you,
I like that perspective.
I quoted this yesterday in our show that got a little off kilter, but it's worth repeating. Thoreau, great philosopher from last century, said most men, and certainly by proxy, most women lead lives of quiet desperation. They're not happy with what they are, what they do, then change it. I'm not saying that, if you got kids, split up your marriage. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying in every other aspect of your life, if you don't think you're in shape, go to the gym. If you don't like your job, find another job. Because to get up every day and do what you don't want to do and be unenthused, think about not only how disgusting that is, but how it permeates every other part of your life.
Well, I think some people are programmed to be on the negative anyway. My sister likes to call me and she likes to dump. And I'm like, all right, don't take my advice. Some people are they just want to.
You're talking about the people you call up and you say, how you doing? New day, same old crap. Then why get out of bed? Why get out of bed at that point?
Right.
We're only here for a short period of time. If you can't maximize it and put your best effort in and try to have fun every day and try to be productive every day, what are you doing? We're all the same. Occasionally you have an Elon Musk or a Ben Franklin whose intellect is off the charts, or you have a serial killer. But we're a lot more alike than we are dissimilar, which is why anti-Semitism and racism and are all ridiculous.
Right.
And everybody once in a while has looked at their watch or their iPhone or their computer and went, wow, it's time to go home. The day flew by. That's way more fun than looking at your computer or your phone or your iPad every 3 minutes and going, what time is it? Why would anybody choose to let themselves get bored? That's,
Well, or like to get into the game. I like to call it getting into the game, get into the game, get into the zone, because when I'm in the zone, like it does fly by,
Is that why it looks like you have a championship wrestling belt behind you on the wall?
It's not mine.
Whose is it?
Oh, that's Val's, one of my sales guys.
Why isn't Val here? Let's get Val in here. What, he abandoned the office?
I took over his office.
Look at this. Val got dethroned. He lost the belt.
Well, this used to be my office, but we figured we'd sit in here today because it's close to the router. We didn't want to make sure we had any issues today.
Well, wait a
there's
minute.
a problem, you got to go and fix it. Okay.
But there's a negative to that too. What if the CIA or the Russians were trying to bug the call? In yesterday's call, nobody could bug us because we couldn't hear each other. I'm just saying. Just trying to put a positive spin on it. My girl's anti-negativity.
I'm just trying to say, I hope the Russians are bugging this call.
and I guarantee as soon as
maybe they learned something. All right.
She's grabbing the wrestling belt and going, "This is pretty cool, Val. You're beat."
Yeah, he also got the this goes around everybody's desk monthly. So
the thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah,
it's kind of literal, but I can live with
it. The belt is quarterly and the thumb is monthly. So I try to hook it up around
excuse me, the belt is only quarterly because I don't work with you. If I worked with you, the belt would be retired and it would be named the Larry Feldman, Rachel Blatt Championship belt, girl. I ain't playing for second. And you can tell Val that if it ever shows back up in the office.
Larry, I'm telling you, you're hired. I'd hire you in a heartbeat. And
I'm not sure if I'm ready to assume it. I seem to be having some confidence issues. Let me work on those a little bit better. And once I feel a little more comfortable in my own skin, I'll call you back.
Let me tell you why. Besides the fact that you're so funny, but let me tell you why, because you're the real deal. And sometimes you can pick up on that with people. I'm very, one of my gifts is I'm very intuitive, and I immediately knew that the minute I met you. So
it's an Oscar Wilde quote. Oscar Wilde said, "Be yourself, everybody else is taken." I'm not looking to emulate anybody. I want to be who I am and want to do my thing. Because see, if I screw up what I'm doing and I did it my way, I can say, "Hey, I screwed it up. I'll fix it." But could you imagine basing everything you do on what everybody else is doing and then say, "Well, it's their fault, or I should have listened to it"? It's crazy.
Well, I'm myself, and people just call me crazy.
Really? Now that's a shocking revelation. See, you're stunning news on this broadcast. Rachel's crazy. Next thing, we're going to announce that fish are swimming and birds are flying. Other obviously apparent things.
I just keep it entertaining, and I'm at the point where I've been through enough stuff where I just try to do the best I can at my job, like the best, and show up every day and have fun. And sometimes fun looks like crazy, but I was never going to be the one that was put in the tiny box. I mean, it's so boring.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of boring. I'd rather be in pain than be bored. I try to stay as active as I can. I must have handled 200 candidates this morning. I'm going to do a ton when I get off. I signed up a couple dealers. I already had a couple podcasts. I've added a new employee. I'm not bragging. I'm just glad I'm alive. I'm glad I'm breathing. I'm glad I can do some stuff. It's we haven't discussed any physics. It's Sir Isaac Newton. Things in motion tend to stay in motion, and things at rest tend to stay at rest. She likes it when I throw a little physics, and we already got wrestling in. We're just trying to cover everything.
I wanted to talk potential because some people don't even believe that they can get all that kind of stuff done. And when you said 200 people, I was like, "Dang, that's a lot of calls, Larry." I mean, you really have to work your magic quickly.
You know what it is? I want to get as much done as I possibly can. Mm-hmm. I love that feeling where you're completely exhausted. You laid it all out. It's just fun. Listen, I believe, I'm not sure. We'd have to check with the Guinness Book of World Records, but I think I set an unofficial world record for sales recruiting. because I did Norman Braman's store. Norman Braman used to own the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Philly's my hometown. And he's
Yeah.
a zillionaire, and he has these gorgeous, gorgeous dealerships on Okeechobee and West Palm.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down there and interviewed 103 people in 2 days, and then had 50 people in class. And when I told people that, man, you're out of your mind, I had fun. I'm sorry I didn't do 125 people.
Right.
Because it just, one of the great things about life and about our business, the car business, is you get to meet a lot of people. And if you're open to it and you're receptive, yeah, you're going to meet a couple jerks, but you're going to do that in every line of work.
Right.
Okay. But if you're open to it, man, can you make a lot of friends and do a lot of business if you smile? And by the way, it's, as I tell everybody all the time, it's not about talking, it's about listening. Because if what you think is witty and great and smart and insightful doesn't correlate or relate to them, if they can't empathize with it, it's a waste of time. It's all about listening.
Exactly. Larry, I'm going to call this segment 3 Fun Facts About Feldman.
Okay.
Tell me 3 fun facts about yourself that nobody knows. Or maybe
3 facts that nobody knows. Well, within a week, I'm going to have, not that too many people listen to CDs anymore, I'm showing my age, but I'm going to have a new CD out with my band. The band's called The Real Fugitives. The CD is going to be called Never Far Enough. And it's going to kick butt. Fun fact off of that, I don't know if you count this as 2, is 2 of the songs, Nothing Can Save Me Now and How Long Can You Run, are going to be in a upcoming horror movie titled To Be Named Shortly. Yep.
Cool. I love that.
Other fun fact, and I'd appreciate if you would kind of keep this on the down low. I am an extrovert that likes to have fun. I know you're stunned. It's one of those hidden things that you would have never guessed.
Never guess. I love that your songs are going to be in a horror movie. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yes, ma'am.
And I like the name of your band too, The Real Fugitives. That's awesome. All right. So for those out there that are freaking out, what's your best advice, Larry?
My father always told me nothing good or bad lasts forever. If it's great, enjoy it, and don't let it go by without noticing and taking full advantage. And if it's terrible, don't jump out the window. Go. My sister, who's 11 years older than me, wrecked her convertible, and like you would have thought somebody shot her puppy, and she was crying. And my dad looked her in the eye and said, "Are you insane? You never cry over anything that can't cry over you." So if you're a car person, there were dealers that ran a great store, did everything right, and the government stepped in not too long ago and took their stores away. We're contracting. We went through the housing meltdown. We've had a zillion problems. You're too young to remember this, and I barely remember, but we had the gas crisis where all of a sudden, if you had a big vehicle, you couldn't do it. You had to go to the gas station every other day, depending on the last digit on your license plate. We're going to survive. We're going to survive. We're going to be fine. We talk music. I always like to quote, my prediction for the future is simple. I go to Jerry Butler from Philadelphia. Only the strong survive. If you're smart enough to roll up your sleeves and look forward and not, be scared to death by the strike, which is a little worrisome, and some of the other problems, you'll be just fine.
And you can always call Larry.
Yeah. Listen, if you need motivational training, if you need to get your people inspired, here I am. It's Larry Feldman. It's Career Changers USA. I don't want to be immodest, but I'll put my style up against anybody breathing. I keep my people in a room 3.5 hours. Like, they don't go to the bathroom. Nobody looks at their iPhone. It's because I'm relating to them. I let them know I care. I let them know I'm listening, and I have fun. And certainly if anybody needs any kind of personnel, sales, office, I think I'm the only guy out there that's getting texts, and I do it a lot less expensively than what a headhunter would charge you. So if you need salespeople, if you need your people better, if you need any kind of position, hey, if you just want to call me up and I'll destabilize your brain, that's fine too.
Because sometimes people need that too. I know I do. And
Rachel, hold on. Let's acknowledge that it's better to be crazy as a pre-existing condition than let them make you crazy, because then you're putting the crazy control sticks in their hand.
Hey, you know what? I take full responsibility for my crazy. And you know what? I'm happy. And so call me crazy, think what you want. I'm happy. And I have friends like like you, Larry. And honestly, I'm so blessed to have you in my life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for doing this. It turned out wonderful this time. I am honored. Please, if you need anything at all, personnel, sales, training, anything at all, please, Larry is the man for you. I know he is because he's the real deal. Very authentic, very fun, just one of those wonderful people. Should you guys love this show, please support it, please share it, please do everything in your power to make this show a success. We would really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, find us on YouTube, watch more often, watch later. We're really just grateful to have you. And I hope that you found this worth your valuable time. Larry, you're amazing. Thank you again for a great show. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you for having me on. And the last thing she said was gold. Have an attitude of gratitude. Just be glad that whatever you got, trust me, there's somebody out there much worse off than you, and keep that in perspective. And have a great day and stay healthy.
Thanks. Thank you. Mwah!